Greetings, welcome to another day of Autoforge development. Today we did something different. We did some project planning and design discussion. So I thought I'd just kind of show what that process is looking like for the sprint. So we finished everything we were doing for the last sprint, which was, plants and item interaction, this kind of world interaction overall. So now we're moving on to mainframe and mechanical uh, like features of the game. So I'll get into a little bit details of what that actually looks like what those features look like. But yeah, first I kind of just planned out the sprint. We have all these different stories, as they're called here on Jira, and uh, the mainframe researching is going to be the first thing we do. So I kind of just like added in the descriptions for these, and I gave some like rough story estimates, like okay, this is worth like 2 points or whatever, just so like I'm trying to get the scope of this sprint down. And once I did all of that, I then moved over to this uh, calendar that I started working on last sprint. Just added in everything and how like I'm thinking it might play out over the next 2 weeks. So first we're working on mainframe researching, and then the mainframe transceiver, UI, and then after like a week or so, we'll move on to the mechanical system and connections and mechanical power stuff. So yeah, I think that looks pretty good. I actually really like putting these tasks down on the calendar and seeing what days I'm going to be working on them, so that I have a better idea of like what I want to be spending my time working on, and then I can look back at it and see like, well, what did I actually end up doing? Normally I just like work day to day, and it's very easy to get lost in that. So moving on to the design, I will try to keep this brief because I could probably talk about it for 20 minutes. But we have the mainframe. The mainframe is going to be the like hub for the player. It's where you will be needing to bring all of your resources back to. And really, as I say here, through the mainframe, the player can research new crafting recipes, expand their territory, and more. That more includes being able to upgrade their character. And so, yeah, it's really the source of progression, and also just like kind of an excuse to have a central location that the player needs to be bringing items back to, so that way they have to kind of deal with item transportation rather than just like creating little micro factories throughout the world. And so there's a number of aspects that go into it. I would say the two biggest ones are researching and the transceiver. So through researching, you'll bring items back to the mainframe, and the mainframe has some storage. And once you collect the appropriate items, you can research, which will take some time, and that will unlock a new like technology tier or just a group of new crafting recipes. And so that's a big way that you're able to progress through the game. The other one, the transceiver, is how you kind of expand your territory in the world. So you start off with just a little section in the world, and then you can expand out. And that is done through this transceiver where you're like kind of purchasing new land, very similar to Forager, except that, this is a side view perspective game. So you'll be able, like the way that you purchase it and strategies, I'm sure, will differ. But the game or the world will be broken up into kind of a grid for buying these new regions. I'm not going to worry about the character upgrading for this sprint, though not dealing with that. The other big feature that we're going to be working on that's in about a week from now is the mechanical system. As I say here, many placeable items or devices which can have mechanical input and or output. Connecting devices through together allow for signals to be passed between them to create complex machines. So this is where you can have a lever that's hooked up to a conveyor belt, and you can kind of like turn that conveyor belt on and off. And then you could do, various things like, oh, let's add a sensor that detects motion and have that turn on the conveyor belt. Um, so this involves just kind of creating a system that allows for these connections to be made for the devices, and then for the signals to be kind of passed from one device to the next, which then may be, passed to another one. And you might have like a series of like 10 different devices connected that have a signal going through them all. And so yeah, I just kind of have been working on this design. I think it's pretty good right now. But I'm sure there's like a lot more that we'll have to figure out, especially as far as the content goes. I kind of have just been really like piecing things together, getting a rough idea of what we want to do for that. The other big aspect of the mechanical system is power, which is required to, have the devices running. And so you have to do some power management. And so we need to add in support for that. But yeah, I'm sure, once we get further in the game, I'll be talking a lot more about this design. And if people are interested, I'd be happy to make videos about like my design reasoning behind a lot of, the decisions that I make for these systems. But yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I know it's a little bit different, but I hope you enjoy it. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.